I thought I'd share one of my exam questions for fall 2025 for those interested, but I'm also going to share the backlash after I share the question. A football player transfers from New Mexico State University to Vanderbilt University. Vanderbilt is a private university located in Nashville, Tennessee. The above is true. The rest is fiction. Fiction. After scoring a touchdown, the football player rushes to the end zone and makes an overtly political statement. Vanderbilt does not appreciate the political statement and expels the student. The student sues Vanderbilt for violating his First Amendment rights to free speech. Does the football player win or lose, and why or why not? Please say and type your answer. If you're looking at your review sheet, please hold it up to show me that you're looking at it and not something else. I thought that was a fun and current topic. And if you're curious, no, this person can't sue because a private university would not be a proper defendant in a First Amendment lawsuit. But I want to talk a little more about the backlash because of this question format. Prior exams had multiple choice questions with video monitoring. Students were not excited that this would now be a fill-in-the-blank question. And also they objected to having to say their answers out loud. Again, prior questions, prior exams had video monitoring, and I could hear what was going on anyway. Sometimes people say their answers while they are working on them, but in this case, it's the requirement. Type the answer and say the answer. These were some of the responses. Responses not just to me, but to my boss and to my boss's boss. My phone was starting to blow up. This is not fair. You changed the syllabus. Or did you change the syllabus? The syllabus says all exam questions will be objective. The final exam will be cumulative. There was no change. One student wrote, "I'm going from an A to a D in one stupid night." That was not true. Someone said, "As a student who pays tuition, I find your academic methods questionable." Someone appealed to legal precedent. Having multiple choice questions on the midterm set a precedent. How about this one? Please keep it multiple choice, if at all possible. Seems that is the consensus from everyone. Now I want to talk about the last one, in my days of being a soldier. I responded to that student, thanked him for his service. Something that maybe others don't know is that I am also a veteran, and so I want to use some of that background to explain what this was like from my perspective. I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps with a master's degree from Yale University. When I say enlisted, I mean I enlisted. I didn't go in as an officer. I went to Parris Island, South Carolina. The Marine Corps sent me to language school. I graduated from the Defense Language Institute as an Arabic linguist, did other training. They then sent me to officer training, where I went through the basic course, officer cant school, also the infantry officer course, scout sniper employment course, military intelligence officers basic course. I served as a platoon commander, and I was the intelligence analysis officer for the 1st Marine Corps Division on September 11th, 2001. That's my background. So appealing to the veterans, I want you to imagine a situation where I am, once again, Lance Corporal Keeley, and you are my platoon commander. And you tell me that I need to know something. It's going to be cumulative, and there's going to be exam questions on this. And let's say prior questions have always been multiple choice. And then let's say I go and I find out that, wait, you're going to ask me questions, and I need to know the answer. And in response, I don't just complain to you, my platoon commander. And I don't just complain to your boss, which would be your company commander. I complain to your boss's boss. So we're talking, depending on branches, your battalion or regimental commander. Imagine that. And why? What is the grievance? Because you didn't like the format of the questions that were being asked. In the civilian world, I want you to think back to high school and imagine that it's final exam time and your teacher is going to ask you fill in the blank questions. But previously they had been multiple choice questions. And in response to this, you don't complain or talk to the teacher. And you don't just talk to the principal. You talk to the principal's boss. I imagine superintendent of schools, the school board. Where are you going to go? Because you didn't like the format of the question. One of the students who complained to my boss and boss's boss ended up writing me this nice letter that I will share. This was a wonderful class. I learned a great deal, for which I am tremendously grateful. I think the format of the final allows for less opportunity to cheat, and when the class saw that they actually had to know the answer, they didn't like it. His words, not mine. I was so stressed this week that when I saw the students banding together, I figured I wasn't the only one experiencing difficulty, so I just tried doing the right thing. After completing the final, however, I realized how unnecessary the conversation thread had been. I hope you do not experience too much backlash. You are a great professor, sir. One question I wonder is, how much backlash is too much backlash? Just a little bit, would that be okay? Because I want you to imagine what my week is like when my boss and my boss's boss are getting messages that they have a rogue professor who's unfair and changing the syllabus, when that wasn't true. When the truth was, I was committed to student learning and providing a fun and fair final exam. I want to give a little background for other educators that might be watching this beyond the class to say, was this out of left field? What's going on? So it turns out earlier in the semester, there were some anomalies in an exam that looked like obvious misconduct. We spent about a week looking at it. I talked to my department head. I notified the academic conduct office. They said, hey, you really need to do this. And I said, I'm a professor, not a prosecutor. I'm an attorney. I could go that direction, but I'm here as a professor. But the way the system works is the professors or someone needs to initiate this. And so they contacted the department head. The department head was actually going to do this because it looked obvious and serious enough. I said, I'm not going to have my boss do something that I should be doing. And so they said, I'll do it. So had to go through all the paperwork for everyone, all their ID numbers, everything, and filed it. And within a day, maybe within 12 hours, I believe it was night and then the next morning, with further research, I found that there was a technological reason for what appeared as misconduct. So some students had been notified that they were being investigated for academic misconduct, and they were wrongly accused. And that's frustrating. Felt horribly. I immediately sent a note to the students and to the academic conduct office saying, hey, please close the file on this. Again, I apologize for any stress this may have caused. I have explained to the academic conduct office that there is a reasonable explanation for the anomalies that are not based on misconduct, and I asked them not to pursue any further investigations into exam 1. So behind the scenes, there is some of that stress, anxiety of people being wrongly accused. Or, let's be honest, some were rightly accused. Some weren't accused, but committed misconduct. And some are amazing students that just had to watch this nonsense from the sidelines. And again, I'm sorry that's frustrating. I'm not sure how I could do that better. I'll leave you with this. I don't normally talk this much about my military background. Most students maybe didn't realize I was a veteran at all. But something that does stick in my mind is the first Marine Corps leadership principle of knowing yourself and seeking self-improvement. And I'm committed to that, to know myself and seek self-improvement. And so to the student in the online class who wrote me this semester saying, maybe I'm just new to teaching, and maybe this is not for me. I can do better. Now, I will mention in my defense that last year, the university gave me the Excellence in Teaching Award. So I don't think I'm new to teaching, but I could be better. We could all be better. My students need me to do a better job. Future employers, society needs us as educators, as students, to do a better job. Have a great day.